Oh no. And recording.
I have this in front of me. Well, actually, I'll move this over so you can hear me properly. I wrote this up in about 45 minutes, so forgive me if it doesn't rhyme all the way through. There once was a bonny lass from I had it right before, Irdisland, a small village in Herefordshire, England. She was the little sister of 4 bigger brothers that protectively chased off all potential suitors. She grew up a hardworking farmer's daughter, and riding her pony, no boys ever caught her. Driving the tractor, tending to animals, harvesting the crop. Her life was very much like a Disneyland train stop. Eager for adventure with high school diploma in hand, she skipped across the pond to a brand new land. Arriving in Oakville, a nanny she would be, but was she Mary Poppins or Nanny McPhee? A more formal education she sought in varied a field and many a spot. Sheridan and Mohawk and McMaster U, earning her diplomas, oh, quite a few. Education and voting was her civic duty, but she was acting on many an opportunity. Planting trees in the north, teaching in Taiwan, retracing her ancestors' trails in Saskatchewan. A 3-week freedom ride on a Goldwyn motorcycle, her adventures almost outdo her professional titles. A passion for youth protection and empowerment. She is dedicated to success and betterment. From camp counselor, foster parent, to fundraising too, now the executive director of Halton's Children's Age Foundation. Her love and protection of all things continues to outlast my ability to rhyme. By the way, did I mention her cast? Joining Oakville's Rotary in 2014, her energy and drive has never seemed to wane. A club president, past and present, she has done. $30,000 she has raised in the End Cancer Run. A recipient of Paul Harris Fellow and married to the wonderful Carmelo. In two wicked children, she is the stepmother to whom love and good humor she does smother. Not wanting to steal any of her thunder, but her love of flying bugs is a wonder. With no further ado, I present to you the Butterfly Queen and her bug farm scene.
That was great, Paul.
Oh, that was amazing.
Paul, the future
So,
poet laureate.
I don't know how I'm supposed to focus after that. Wow. Wow. Well done. I think you should have been the presenter. Okay, let me just gather my wits again. All right, well, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and just make sure that you can all see what's coming. All right, do you have a picture of a monarch butterfly up on your screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Paul, for that introduction. I just want to make a couple of disclaimers as we get started. I am no expert. I am not a lepidopterist, which is a person who studies butterflies. I am not a botanist. Neither am I a wonderful nature narrator such as David Attenborough or David Suzuki. This is something that I picked up last summer and had no intention of making a presentation about it. I had just taken photographs and videos throughout the summer, and then someone, mentioning no names, Martina, suggested that I put it together and make a presentation. So thank you for allowing me to practice. And here we go. So if you have any questions, stop me along the way. I have, I think I have 15 slides here. It's going to take me maybe about 30 minutes to do this, right? But ask questions along the way if you have any. This all started because in our backyard, each year we've seen monarchs flying around, and as you all know, monarchs are an endangered species. And I heard through the grapevine that the milkweed plant is very important to the survival of monarchs. And this is because the milkweed is the only plant that the monarch larva will eat. So the monarch lays its eggs on the milkweed, the egg hatches, the caterpillar or larva eat the milkweed plant, forms a chrysalis and flies away, right? But without the milkweed plant, none of this would happen. So I went out to Winona Gardens and bought myself a milkweed plant. And I swear to you, number one on the Rotary test, this is the truth. I brought home a milkweed plant with a flower on the top, placed it in the garden where I was going to plant it, went back to the garage to get my shovel, came back within 15 minutes. There was a monarch butterfly on this plant. Wow. So it works. They attract them. The butterflies are looking for these plants. The leaves themselves aren't that pretty, but the flowers are, and the scent is spectacular. And at this point, I'd like to give a shout out to our friend Martina. Martina and Larry thankfully have a forest of milkweeds in their backyard. And for anyone who's gone down this road or thinks about going down this road, you have to have tons of leaves in order to feed these creatures. So Larry and I were doing deals. I was providing him with eggs or larvae, and he was bringing me leaves. And so together we raised, I think it was about 14 monarchs last summer. Wow. So it was a group effort for sure. So you've got your milkweed. The next thing you have to do is look for eggs. Now here in this picture, you can see with my cursor, it's one solitary tiny egg. A monarch butterfly will lay from anywhere from 100 to 300 eggs in her lifetime, but it is one at a time. So if you see a cluster of eggs on the back of a leaf, it is not a monarch. One at a time is all, and they take anywhere from 3 to 5 days to hatch. Next comes the larva. So these, when they hatch, are tiny. You can see in this picture that that's my thumb. This tiny little larva, when they first hatch, they are less than 1 centimeter long. They can grow up to 5 centimeters. You'll see a couple of pictures later on when they're really at full length. So if you see any of these on the leaf, you can bring those in and start to feed those. So I had only one success with having an egg hatch to a caterpillar, but in all cases, when I brought in the caterpillar or larva, each one made it to adulthood. So if you can wait until you find the larva rather than the egg, that was my success anyway. So once you bring a caterpillar inside, you must be prepared to feed an army. And you see here this picture on the left, this is one of the larger larvae now, and this is one leaf that this caterpillar has been eating during the day, and they can finish off a whole huge leaf in a very short time. So I have a couple of really short videos. There's no sound, but just to give you the effect of, if you decide to do this, it takes over your house. This year I'll have to do things differently because I have a 10-month-old kitten that will be everywhere. So you can actually buy nets. They are mesh aquariums specifically for this purpose. And so they're zipped, and you can put your larvae inside with the leaves and then keep them outside in a shaded area or bring them in. But I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I got myself, first of all, this big Tupperware box, and then you'll see a couple more receptacles that I used. But this is just an example here of how there's 2 caterpillars in here. I would fill the container each morning, brand new paper towel and some nice big leaves. Same with this one. So I had like this type of goldfish bowl type thing here, and that's a very large caterpillar right there. So this isn't for the people who don't like bugs for sure. And then this other big one, you see this caterpillar is getting ready to become a chrysalis. That's what they do. He's made his little silk bud right here and attached himself. And he's now getting ready to turn into the pupa. And so this next video, again, not for the faint of heart, is you see the mess that starts to happen once they're eating. So they're eating away, but what goes in must come out. That's what you see over here. The black debris, shall we say. This was a mammoth one. It was really fun to watch him. And what I'm showing you here, that one that was getting ready over here to become a chrysalis. And again, I'm not a videographer, so I'm sorry about being upside down right now, but that's the jewel right there. And I have yet to actually see that transformation. So, you know, they start forming the chrysalis, usually at night, I found. And I tried to stay up, or I would, you know, okay, nothing's happening, I'll go and do something else, like fold the laundry or something. And the next thing you know, they've started. So really, you know, on this slide, I have eat, poop, sleep, repeat. And this goes on for anywhere from 11 to 18 days. And when I say sleep, I don't know that they do, because they seem to just be eating constantly. So 11 to 18 days, I found around the 2-week mark, so around the 14-day mark was the key thing. And it all depends on temperature. And again, I'm no expert, so I can't even tell you what temperature my house was at last summer. But we do know that they like the warmth. And so what happens is, once they reach that stage where you see that, oh, so the other thing, you know, where you saw that I'd MacGyvered like these sticks in the containers, when they're ready to become a chrysalis, they will climb up. So they will look for a stick and climb up it. And that's what this one did right here. And what you're seeing here, his head is moving, right? And he's starting to make whatever this material is that comes out of their mouths to form the chrysalis over here. But as I mentioned, I've yet to actually see that transformation. So that's my aim this year, is I'm going to stay up all night if I have to see that happen. And this picture right here, to me, it's stunning. It's better than any diamond that you could have. The color is incredible. And again, this is just me using my Samsung phone. So that jade is amazing. And when they first form the chrysalis, it is that pale green. But see these pieces, and I don't know what this turns into on the butterfly, if anything. I don't know the purpose of that. And we know in nature that everything has a purpose. But these are like tiny little nuggets of gold on here. And to see these in person in the bright light, it's just amazing. So then, once they become a chrysalis, more waiting, of course. And you'll see this is the one large receptacle I have. I think you get this at Costco, full of like cheesies or something, some kind of chips. And in here, you can say I have 4 chrysalis right now. So like these 2 climbed up the sticks that I'd created, but these other 2 decided to go right to the top, right? So they go up there, they make their tiny little silk button and attach themselves and then form this casing. And so then it's a matter of waiting and, you know, drive myself nuts and everybody else around to keep checking on these things. One of the things that happens that looks kind of gross, but see this black piece right here? That's the face of the caterpillar. And again, I don't know why, I'm not the expert, but when they disappear into this casing, this is molted off, for want of a better explanation. So their face comes off. But we know, you know, when the butterfly emerges, they have a face. So I don't understand that, or maybe this year I can provide some updates on that. But the reason for more pictures of these chrysalis is the change over the days, maybe even 2 weeks while you're waiting. So they started off as a really light, pale green, and they start to darken. and the darker they get, so you see here, it's getting darker, to the point where at one point I thought, uh-oh, see how dark that is? I thought, uh-oh, you know, something's gone wrong. It's died inside and it's rotten. Like, I know that sounds gross, I'm sorry, but you know, my first time, didn't know what to expect. But just hold on, because amazing things are going to happen. And again, so poor Carm, my husband, you know, I said, you know, some women go out and, you know, buy a dozen pairs of shoes at a time, and others like to go and get their nails done. And I sit in the backyard and collect caterpillars and bring them into the house. And he's like, that's okay. Anyway, he ended up being as interested as I. And, you know, because I'm waiting every day for these chrysalises to do something. Like they're going to burst out at some point. So, you know, every day I'm having my coffee and sitting there, and I've got my phone ready with the video, just in case today's the day or the hour is the hour that it's going to pop, and it doesn't. So there were numerous occasions when I would be sitting in a meeting, as I am right now, and Carm appears in front of me, but behind the scenes for everyone else, going, can you come now? Can you come now? So there were many times that I missed it, but you will see momentarily that I got a really good piece of video that I'm really happy with. So keep more waiting, and then here's what happens. See how this has turned so black on one side, and you can almost see layers in the encasement. And then you can actually see in this picture, you can actually see the wings of the butterfly. You can see very clearly that it's a monarch inside. And you can also see that the this outer shell is separate from whatever it is that's inside, right? So I am really, really hoping that you can all see this next piece of video. And it's about, I don't know if I can see, it's about 2 minutes long. And I hope it thrills you as much as it did me. And if it doesn't, then you just know how crazy I am. All right. So this caterpillar had chosen to put its chrysalis on the bottom of this plate that I was using as the lid. I'm assuming that you can all see that. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can. Now, Tina, did you have these in your house when you were releasing them?
No, I took them outside to release.
Yeah. Okay.
And there she comes.
Wow. Let me know.
Yeah. So that's the one and only that I caught actually emerging from the chrysalis. And that's actually, what's that called? Eclosion. That process right there. Eclosion. That's your word for the day. So what happens after they've emerged like that is they have to dry out, and they will, I'm just letting it finish because at the end you kind of see her drop a little bit. Maybe not. All right. So what happens next is the drying out, right? So they've come out of the shell right here. And then over about 4 hours, they hang there. And the longer they hang, the more you see them look more like the butterflies that we see. So you can actually see on the paper towel underneath, that's, you know, that has what is dripped off their wings. And she or he sits there for about 4 hours, drying out. Once that is done, they just want to soak up the sun. So what I did then was take them outside and let them sit. And again, this is all within the 4 hours, but they will sit in the warmth and then eventually spread their wings out and soak up that sun. And then you see them start to make their way up at the side of the container or up on. Here's what comes next. So, because they go at any time, right? They're not waiting for you to be, they're not saying, woohoo, Tina, we're ready to go, come and take a picture. It's on their time. So this video over here, I'm just going to make sure the sound is down, right? Just a little bit here. This one is getting ready to fly away. It was doing this for quite some time, so I was feeling sorry for it. I went and got a stick. So I just want to comment on how agile I am right here. So I have one hand holding a stick, balancing a butterfly, and the other hand taking the video with the camera. So with my thumb. So here you get a view of their absolute beauty. And you know, they're just finding their feet, but I'm going to speed this one up just a little bit if I can here, because she's trying to get away, but then she ends up falling back down into the bottom of the container. So here we go. I'm going to speed this up because there's a funny moment coming up just now. So I'm just and it was a very windy day.
It's too windy, hey?
Oh, and by the way, I talked to the butterflies. So sorry again.
Come on.
They're just so beautiful.
Oh, in my hair, on my head. I don't know what you can see.
That happened.
Oh.
So then.
So how was your day? Oh, I just stood around being a perch for a monarch butterfly. This is amazing.
So literally, I don't know how long I did that, but yes, for a long time, a stupidly long time, I just stood there and the butterflies stayed on me for ages and ages. And then this last video, it's somewhat anticlimactic, but just to show you that, you know, when they do fly off, there it goes, they are flying around in the backyard, and it eventually, you see it right there, going over the fence and away. And then right there is the milkweed plant that made it all happen, right there. Wow. So that's it. And thank you. I mean, thank you for indulging me in what was an amazing experience for me. A couple of things of note is that monarchs have this really neat thing. It's their generations. I'm struggling to get that out. So monarch butterflies in the first 3 generations throughout a summer live 2 to 5 weeks. So if you see a monarch butterfly, let's say end of May, June, that butterfly is going to live, you know, 2 to 5 weeks. They're going to lay as many eggs as they can. They're going to die off, but their eggs become the 2nd generation. So there are 3 generations typically of monarch butterflies that reproduce here in, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, that reproduce here in Ontario. Then the 4th generation, which happens around beginning of September, they don't reproduce and they don't die right away. So these are the ones that fly down to Mexico. So that last generation, they don't lay any eggs. They take off as soon as they're released, and they do that trip down to Mexico, which, you know, is 2,000 to 3,000 miles. So whatever that is in kilometers, find their spot to stay in Mexico. And then it's not until February, March of the following year that they start their journey back north, and they start reproducing at that time. So those butterflies that we released in September of last year are the ones that are coming back now. They can live up to 9 months for the duration of that. And Mike's got a postcard there with monarchs on. So they can live up to 9 months in order to come back up north and start the process all over again. So it's just amazing. And thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. I'm not the expert, but happy to answer any questions.
So, Tina, you nurtured them indoor. What
Yes.
happens outside? I mean, it's not everybody's going to do that.
Yeah, so
What
So-
happens to the eggs that are laid naturally out on those?
So I don't have percentages, but they have a good chance of surviving. So the eggs may or may not survive because there are beetles and bugs that will eat the eggs. Once the eggs have hatched to larva, the larvae actually give off some kind of toxic chemical, which makes them not necessarily inedible for birds, but not tasty anyway. So, but of course, sometimes birds will take them and eat them without realizing that. So really the main risk to them is people harvesting the milkweed, you know, so we have a wooded area behind us, as you saw, and you know, if the company that owns it comes through and mows everything, the milkweeds are gone. Right, so that's part of the reason for the decline in monarchs, was that their natural habitat was what's the word, developed, right? So that's why there has been a decline. So planting milkweed, and so Martina can attest to this. Larry and Martina gave me, I don't know how many bags of the seed pods from the milkweed. And last fall, actually, anyway, you have to plant around or spread around the frost. It's a whole other phenomenon about the seed. But so I went out back and spread thousands and thousands of seeds. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but it's done. And we'll wait and see how many survived. And the plants, because I went and Martina and Larry gave me some more plants from my backyard as well, and those are coming back this year. So long answer to your question, Jim, they will survive because we're seeing more and more monarchs, but it's, you know, it's the same challenges that anything in nature has, right? Because birds will eat butterflies as well. So just, yeah.
So what do butterflies do for nature? Because a lot of these creepy crawlies and nasty looking things do good stuff that we're all not aware of. So
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they help pollinate like bees do.
I don't know.
I don't know. I will look that up for my next
you go.
presentation.
So I'm going to ask you a question I know the answer of. Did you look up to find out how to tell the difference between males and female monarchs?
Yes, I did. So at the very bottom of the wing,
Tail wings, yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, is so, and now I'm forgetting whether it's male or female. So I'm going to say male has the 2 spots at the very bottom of the wings. And if there are no spots there, then it's female.
Exactly.
Or vice versa.
I had to teach that to scouts, so.
Okay.
And I know that the one you just had there was a female because it didn't have the spots. And I know all the ones that Larry hatched were males, and he used to get really annoyed because his were all males. He didn't mind males, but he wanted females so that they could lay more eggs and, you know, and make more butterflies. So,
So it was really fascinating. I am going to get one of those mesh aquariums for this year so that I can do a couple of larvae this year. I don't think I'll try and do as many, but who knows? I get a little crazy sometimes. But that's a benefit, not to make light of the COVID pandemic, because it was awful for so many. But I would never have done that. I was only able to do that because I'm working from home. So at lunchtime, I go outside on my break. Previously, I was not home every day. And you have to keep feeding them, right? Fresh leaves that we keep in the fridge. This is just another one of the reasons why I refer to my husband as the luckiest man in the world, right?
On a techie side point, have you considered when you get the mesh, maybe getting a time-lapse internet camera or something so you could follow along at work from home? Like you could turn on your phone camera and see how the butterflies are doing?
Well, that's a great idea. I would need somebody like you, Paul, to guide me in the right direction for that.
I'll send you a link. Amazon sells them.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so thank you.
Phenomenal. So who's going to thank the speaker?
I know what I want to say. That's one hell of a hobby that you have here, Tina. I'm thinking I got a great one swinging a stick at a ball, but these butterflies, let me tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was inadvertent. It was so fascinating, and so I didn't know what I was getting into when I brought that first caterpillar in. But anyway, there you go.
So if one bought one plant at the nursery and just stuck it in your garden,
Yeah, that was it. And Larry
they would appear.
Larry was getting mad at me because he couldn't find the eggs on his plants.
Oh.
They are so tiny, right? They really are tiny. So you have to get down on your hands and knees and look underneath, and yeah. Anyway.
So the farm girl never went away.
No, that's right.
So I'm
that
also,
was
go ahead, Martina. I'm also tasked with thanking you for a very informative conversation today, presentation. I always enjoy learning things like that and passing that type of information on to others. So I've always had some interest in the monarch butterflies, but I also live in a townhouse with a 10-foot by 10-foot backyard, and my blow-up hot tub takes up most of that. So
Okay.
I don't think it's conducive to a monarch or to a caterpillar farm, but I'd like to thank you. And obviously on behalf of our club, we'll make a donation to end polio, and thank you again. And these are the type of topics I'd love to promote and put on our YouTube page, if that's okay with you.
Oh, let me think about that. Let me watch your recording before I say yes to that.
I will make sure you see it first.
Maybe you can edit some bits. I don't know. Anyway,
That whole
thanks.
introduction.